The whistle blows. The bout begins. You're nervous, but your adrenaline is pumping. You push your way through the pack to become the lead jammer of the first jam. According to Jet City Roller Derby website, today's roller derby is essentially a race between two jammers from opposing teams through a pack of blockers. You need to know about roller derby because it is a sport that anyone can play or even enjoy watching, no matter what your experience is with roller skating, your age. They have kid leagues, adult leagues, and the team that you play for can teach you how to skate and all of the basics, gameplay, rules, and regulations. Today, we will talk about blockers and blocking, a pivot and pivoting, jammers and jamming. First, I will tell you about blockers and blocking. According to the rulebook on the Women's Flat Track of Roller Derby Association website, 4 blockers from each team are lined up at the pivot line, one being a pivot, which we will get to in a minute, that make up the pack. So your 4 blockers make up the pack. Blockers make up the majority of your 15-player team. Blockers do not have a helmet cover, as you see here. This person and this person are a blocker, and they do not have anything on their helmets. Blockers are strong, they have good footwork, and they're aggressive. They cannot score points. And the main goal of a blocker, like you see here, is to stop the opposing jammers. So these people are on the same team, this is the opposing jammer. Secondly, I will tell you about a pivot in roller derby. And according to the Dead End Derby website, pivots are designated by the helmet cover, and which is the striped helmet cover that you see. You can kind of see the stripe there on that pivot. So a pivot, you usually have 3 or 4 pivots depending on how many blocker lineups you have and the endurance of your skaters. So your pivots are agile, they're quick, and they're aggressive. They have good footwork and they can easily transition from front to back. So your pivot wants to lead your pack of blockers, your 4 blockers, one of those being the pivot, and they want to lead the pack because they're guiding the pack to block the opposing jammer. So also a pivot can accept a star pass, which is what's happening in this photo here. You see the pivot cover, the pivot helmet cover being covered by a star helmet cover, and then your pivot becomes your jammer. Which leads me to my last point, which I will tell you about jamming and jammers in roller derby. According to the Gotham City Roller Derby website, a jammer is a single point scoring skater whose object is to score as many points against the opposing jammers as possible. And typically you probably have about 3 jammers in your pack or your team of 15, depending on skater abilities and the endurance. I could play all 3 positions, pivot, blocker, and jammer, but normally I was the jammer. So a jammer is labeled by the star helmet cover, which you see here, and their point is for them to score points. So your jammers are aggressive and fast, and they can also pass the star helmet cover to the pivot. So if your jammer is having trouble getting through that pack, you take off your helmet cover and you hand it to the pivot, which is where your footwork comes into play. And you want to be aggressive and be able to get through that pack. So in conclusion, now that you have a basic knowledge of roller derby, because I've told you about blockers and blocking, a pivot and pivoting, jammers and jamming. The camaraderie I experienced when I played roller derby was like no other. A team full of encouraging people, like you see here. We always had so much fun. And if you ever have the experience to join or even watch a roller derby bout, I highly suggest it. SRD till death! Huh!